Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever found yourself wondering about those corners of America where the map feels a little incomplete?
Yeah, those places tied to, forgotten mysteries, where people just seem to vanish.
Exactly. Step off the face of the earth without a trace. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one such place.
We're heading to Vermont, specifically an area near Bennington, sort of centered around Glastenbury Mountain.
Informally known as the Bennington Triangle.
Right, and that name itself, it kind of evokes a certain unease, doesn't it?
It does. And that unease really stems from this cluster of disturbing disappearances. They all happened in a really short time frame.
Just 5 years, between 1945 and 1950.
We've gathered our material for this, pulled insights from, well, various sources, including a key text, really focused on these Bennington Triangle vanishings, trying to understand what happened there.
Yeah, our goal with this deep dive is to, sift through those sources, pull out the key details on these 5 really perplexing cases.
And look at the theories the material presents.
Exactly. Examine those theories and just try to get a clearer picture of why this particular spot holds such an enduring and, frankly, pretty unsettling mystery.
Okay, so let's start by defining the area. This Bennington Triangle, it's around Glastenbury Mountain in Vermont. What do the sources say makes this place stand out?
Well, the material describes it as encompassing the old ghost town of Glastonbury itself.
A ghost town, okay.
Yeah, and it's characterized by incredibly dense forest, largely untouched, subject to really harsh weather.
Right.
And interestingly, the sources also mention reports of strange magnetic anomalies in the region.
Magnetic anomalies. What does that mean, according to the sources? Like compasses going haywire?
It could be that, yeah. Compasses behaving erratically, maybe electronic equipment acting up unexpectedly, things like that. It sort of adds to the feeling that this isn't just, any patch of woods.
And the name itself, Bennington Triangle, the source, says author Joseph A. Citro coined that.
That's right, yeah. And the core legend that kind of solidified around this area, especially after these cases, it's chillingly simple.
People go in.
And some just don't come back out.
Which brings us right to those 5 cases.
Yeah.
1945 to 1950. They really define this mystery. The first one, 1945, was Middie Rivers.
Middie Rivers. He was 74 years old, but crucially, the source material really emphasizes he was an experienced hunting guide.
Right, not just some novice.
No, he knew these woods inside and out, intimately. And the circumstance was simple enough.
What had happened?
He was leading a group, walked ahead a little bit on the trail, planned to meet them just shortly down the way.
Okay.
He never did.
An experienced guide knows the terrain like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
Vanishing. That just feels odd, practically speaking.
It really does.
So what did the search turn up? Anything.
And that's where it gets even weirder. Searchers combed the area, found absolutely nothing.
Nothing, no tracks.
No tracks, no signs of passage, no disturbance, nothing to indicate where he went or what could have happened. The only thing they found, a single spent bullet casing near a stream.
Just one casing.
Just one. The sole piece of potential evidence, but, it shed no light at all on his disappearance.
Yeah, a bullet casing doesn't explain a vanishing man. Okay, let's move to the next year, 1946. Paula Welden.
Paula Welden. She was younger, 18, a student at Bennington College.
Right.
Decided to go for a hike. It was a clear day. Sources say she was last seen asking some people for directions towards the long trail.
And she just vanished. How far in?
Within a few miles of where she was last spotted, gone.
An 18-year-old student, broad daylight. That must have sparked a huge search.
Oh, absolutely. It triggered a statewide manhunt. Law enforcement, volunteers, even the FBI got involved eventually.
That's the same result.
Eerily similar to Middie Rivers. Despite this massive search, nobody was ever found. No clothes, no belongings, nothing.
Nothing at all.
Well, there's one particularly strange detail the material highlights about the search dogs.
Oh, yeah. What about them?
Reports mention that at least one of the dogs tracked her scent for a ways, but then abruptly stopped. At a certain point on the trail,
Suck out.
just stopped, acted as if the scent just ended. Right there.
Like she just winked out of existence on the spot. That dog detail is really unsettling. Hard to explain with normal logic.
It really is.
Okay, jumping ahead 3 years. 1949. James Tedford. Now, this case is totally different, circumstances-wise.
It's going to be more different, yeah. James Tedford, he was a veteran. Returning to the Bennington Soldiers' Home, he was traveling by bus. And what makes his case so bewildering is that he vanished from a moving bus.
Wait, from inside a moving bus. How is that physically possible?
That is the million-dollar question. That's the core puzzle. Witnesses on the bus confirmed he was definitely on board when it left the previous stop.
Okay, so he was there.
He was there, but when the bus arrived in Bennington, he wasn't.
He wasn't there.
Gone. His luggage. Still on the bus, up in the rack. His timetable was apparently open on his empty seat.
Open on the seat.
Yeah.
Implying he wasn't planning to get off.
Seems that way, like he was just reading it. But he was nowhere to be found. And there wasn't any stop between the last confirmed sighting in Bennington, where he could have reasonably gotten off without anyone noticing.
It just wasn't there anymore.
Exactly.
That case. I mean, that really defies any easy explanation based on the facts we have from the bus, the passengers. Wow.
For real head scratches.
Okay, now 1950. A bad year. 2 more vanishings. First, a young boy, Paul Jepson.
Yes, Paul Jepson. Only 8 years old, he disappeared from near his family's truck.
Near the truck.
His mother had just stepped away for a few minutes, literally just minutes. When she came back, he was gone.
Oh, that's awful. An 8-year-old. The search must have focused heavily on tracking him, right? Did they find a scent?
They did. Tracking dogs did pick up his scent, but, and this echoes the Paula Welden case,
Don't tell me.
the material notes his scent trail abruptly stopped dead.
Where?
Near the same trail where Paula Welden had vanished 4 years earlier.
Yeah, near the same trail. And the scent just stops again.
Stops dead. That geographical overlap plus the scents ending abruptly in 2 cases. The sources really point that out as significant and very strange.
Yeah, that pattern of scents just stopping cold is extremely odd.
Okay.
Okay, finally, also in 1950, Frieda Langer.
Frieda Langer. She was out hiking with her cousin. She slipped and fell in a stream, got wet,
Okay.
so she decided to head back to their campsite. It was only a short distance away just to change her clothes. Said she'd be right back.
Let me guess.
She never made it. Never came back.
So, similar to Middie Rivers and Paula Welden then, vanished during what should have been a short return trip. Was she also never found?
Now this is where her case is different, and it's a
Yeah.
crucial point the sources make. Frieda Langer's the only one of these 5 whose body was eventually located.
Oh, they found her when?
Yes, but her remains were found 7 months later.
7 months. Where?
And here's the really perplexing part. She was found in an open field, a field that had already been searched extensively, multiple times during the initial efforts.
Wait, found months later in an already searched area. How does that happen?
Nobody knows. And adding another layer to the mystery, the cause of her death couldn't be determined. It remained undetermined.
So she was found, but how she died and why she wasn't found sooner in a place they had already looked, still completely unknown.
Exactly. Found, but still surrounded by massive question marks.
Okay, so we have 5 very different people. A hunter, a student, a veteran on a bus, a child, a hiker, all vanishing in or very near this specific area over just 5 years. Only one body ever recovered, and even that discovery is strange. Naturally, people start looking for explanations. What kind of theories do the sources explore to try and make sense of this pattern?
Well, the material lays out several possibilities. They really range from the, let's say, conventional to the truly extraordinary.
Okay.
One theory that comes up, definitely in the more unconventional category, is this idea of a Glastenbury vortex.
A vortex, what does that entail?
The idea is that the mountain itself might contain some kind of geological anomaly, or maybe a unique magnetic field. Proponents claim this could potentially distort space or time, or maybe even dimension in a localized area.
A spatial or temporal anomaly?
Yeah.
I mean, that theory definitely aligns with the whole disappearing without a trace thing, like stepping out of reality.
It does fit that narrative, yes.
But what about more, grounded explanations, things we can maybe relate to more easily?
Well, a serial killer is often brought up when you have multiple disappearances in one area. It's a natural thought.
Makes sense.
But the sources pretty much immediately push back on that idea. They highlight several key reasons why that explanation just doesn't seem to fit the known facts of these 5 cases.
Okay, like what? What are the main objections the sources raise against the serial killer theory here?
Well, first, there's just a complete lack of connection between the victims.
Right, they were all so different.
Exactly. Different ages, genders, backgrounds, and the circumstances of disappearance were worlds apart. One in the deep woods, one on a marked trail, one from inside a moving bus, one near a parked truck.
No clear pattern there.
No pattern. Standard investigation looks for commonalities, a signature, something linking them. The sources say there's just nothing like that here. Plus,
The lack of bodies.
The lack of bodies, yes, except for Frieda Langer found under those strange circumstances. No evidence like ransom notes, no discernible pattern at all. It just makes a serial killer seem highly improbable, according to the material.
Okay, so the victim profile, the method, the evidence trail, none of it really lines up with what you'd expect. So what about the more speculative stuff, the paranormal explanations that often crop up around these kinds of place-based mysteries?
Right. This is where the sources touch on the local lore and some of the reported strange experiences people have had in that area.
Like what?
There's talk about the land maybe being cursed, Native American land, mentions of legends, things like skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers, what are they supposed to be?
In some folklore, they're described as malevolent, shape-shifting beings. And then there are reports of maybe some kind of unidentified creature living deep in the woods. The material also includes accounts from hikers, people who've been in the area more recently perhaps, describing really unsettling experiences.
Okay.
Things like hearing disembodied voices when they know they're alone, or getting completely disoriented, feeling like they're walking in loops, even when trying to navigate carefully.
That feeling of being lost when you shouldn't be.
Yeah, and just an overwhelming sensation of being watched. Watched by something that feels distinctly not human.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That taps into some deep-seated fears about the wilderness, doesn't it?
It really does.
And finally, the source kind of poses the question, could this just be a series of tragic but ultimately unrelated accidents? Just really, really bad luck.
Yeah, the sources bring that up, but then they pretty directly dismiss the bad luck explanation.
Why?
They argue that statistically, 5 people vanishing in 5 years, all within the same relatively small geographic area.
With almost no trace.
Exactly. Virtually no remains found, no witnesses to the actual disappearances, leaving behind basically nothing that goes beyond random chance or simple bad luck.
It's too much of a coincidence.
Right. The sources don't frame it as unfortunate accidents, they explicitly call it a pattern.
A pattern of vanishing.
Okay.
So, when you look across all these diverse cases, is there one consistent, really eerie thread that the sources keep coming back to, beyond just the strange circumstances of each disappearance?
Yes, absolutely. The overwhelming, consistent theme across almost all these cases, especially when you look at the search efforts, is the profound lack of evidence.
Just nothing.
Nothing. No signs of struggle were ever found at any potential point of disappearance. No ransom demands, no notes left behind, other than that one single kind of inexplicable bullet casing.
Frieda Langer's strange discovery.
And Frieda Langer's body being found months later in that weird way. Besides those anomalies, there was just nothing. The core mystery, as the material presents it, is that these people seem to have vanished into the woods, leaving no trace. Almost as if whatever happened ensures it cannot be found. Or maybe weren't meant to be found.
It just leaves you with this profound sense of the unknown, doesn't it? How a place can seemingly erase people.
Absolutely. The Bennington Triangle, based on these sources, it really remains one of America's most disturbing mysteries, and one of the least conventionally explained. It just highlights the limits of our investigation methods when the evidence simply isn't there.
It really does. It forces you, the listener, to confront a pretty fundamental question, I think, about reality, about our understanding of certain places on Earth. What force or what bizarre combination of factors could possibly lead individuals, anyone from an experienced woodsman or a carefree student to a veteran on a moving bus or a little kid playing near his parents to cease to exist within a very specific geographic location and time frame.
Leaving behind nothing.
Leaving absolutely nothing behind to indicate their fate. It's a question that just sort of lingers, unsettlingly, long after you read about these cases.
It really makes you wonder if some places hold secrets that maybe our current understanding just can't penetrate yet.